It's so good. That's funny.
I need to take a drink.
Has that been one of those days for you?
No.
Every day in LA.
Every day in LA.
Cool. Got a few?
To not getting arrested.
All right, cheers.
Okay. Don't nobody have time for all of
There
that.
you go. Cheers.
Cheers. Again.
Winners.
We're all winners. All God's
Good
children.
to go? All right, appreciate
Go.
it.
All right, you're
let's get
recording everywhere. You are good to go. I will turn the air on,
Please.
Thank you.
and when it comes on, we'll see how noisy it gets. but
It
I'll
should
just
be
leave it
fine.
on.
I think we had it on before at
Okay.
some point.
Have fun.
All right,
Thank
appreciate it.
Good.
All right, we'll try to be fast, funny, and efficient so that we don't go too crazy over time.
Yeah.
It's like most of the guys I sleep with.
So Taraji P. Henson. So Taraji spends this entire promotion campaign basically talking about how she's not, the math ain't math, and she's not getting paid enough
Yeah.
of what she thinks she's worth. Now I looked up what her net worth was, and it's about $12 million.
That's a lot of money.
Well, those are always lies.
They
Higher
are
or
always
lower?
lies.
Yeah.
Because net worth is assets plus liquid plus
But none of these people are in these people's pockets for real, though.
for real. So how much money do you think Taraji has?
I mean, hopefully she got 20 million at
Hopefully
least.
12 or
I
more.
would think so. I would think more than 20.
I
Because you
hope
figure
so.
she's been around since, what, go back to Baby Boy.
What'd she get? 5,000 for that? 15,000
Yeah.
for that?
But that was what, like
I mean,
25 years ago?
The interview
was
said
so
that
long
she only
ago.
got paid
Ooh, that's
15,000
depressing.
for something that
For
was dope.
something like
That was-
Hustle and Flow or like something crazy.
Yeah.
So Baby Boy was 2001. Before then, she she did like cameos on like Moesha and like Smart Guy and you know all of the WB shows and stuff. So she was always like the girl, the cheerleader or some girl that was at some high school. And then she went and she did Baby Boy, and to us, Baby Boy is like a black movie classic,
Yes.
right? So when we look at Taraji P. Henson, we're like, yo, she deserves.
She balling.
Yeah.
She deserves at least $1 million up front. She deserves $15 million per movie.
But these are low budget films.
Exactly.
This is
She
true.
has, I mean,
This
Hustle
is
and
true.
Flow, Baby Boy. I mean, their budgets weren't crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's look at it. Let's because again, they're doing the comparison to their white counterparts, right? So Taraji's accolades, she's been nominated once for an Academy Award. That was for The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. She's a Golden Globe winner
I forgot about that.
for Empire. She's a sixth. She's been nominated for an Emmy 6 times, primetime and daytime. She's been nominated for she's won a BET award 6 times,
No one
And
cares about
hosted them
that.
6 times.
Huh? Yeah.
And hosted them 6 times.
and she's won 11 NAACP Image Awards.
She didn't get anything for Hidden Figures?
No,
What?
I don't
To me,
think
that
any
was
of them
her
did.
best performance. I
mean,
loved
it's
her.
always the best performances that don't get any credit. It's the
Yeah.
Hustle
Wow.
and Flow shit that'll get them
The Denzel in Training
Day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Halle Berry
exactly.
and Monsters Ball. I mean,
Are we allowed to cuss on this podcast?
yeah.
Yes.
I was about to say the same.
Because I was,
This is for
she
the
had to
people.
fuck that white man all over the damn house.
Yeah, to get some shine when she's been doing the epic work.
But that's how Hollywood picks for us. It's like, this was some good niggatry. Best actress goes too. Like, that's all they care about.
the thing I will say about Hidden Figures, I think Hidden Figures was the highest grossing film that she did as a lead actress. The
Because
budget
it-
was $25 million. The movie grossed $236.2 million. The demographic of the film was 43% white, 37% black, 64% was female, and 56% was 35 years old and older. And as a supporting actress, Taraji's films have grossed $2.6 billion, but you have to take that with a grain of salt because, again, she was a part of an ensemble. She was a supporting role. The ones that she's led, 11 films, $265,458,067, which was probably Hidden Figures is a good chunk of that. lead of an ensemble, 5 films, $671 million. As an executive producer, 2 films, $76 million, more or less, how much he's grossed. And Tyler Perry has paid her the most. He was the first person to pay her $500,000.
I remember that. So the real
That's
question,
crazy.
We got a real question
For that acrimony?
Yeah.
No,
it was
I think I can do better all by myself. I think I can do better. Was it?
I can do bad.
all by myself.
all by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is, like, where's the blame lie? Like, are you taking the job and your manager's not getting you a good deal? Or that's what the market yields for this movie, and we don't know how big or small it's going to be, but we're going to make it. Like, how does that work?
Well, I have her manager. We have the same manager, the one that did all of the stuff, a lot of the things for her. That worked the deal out with, what's the show on Hustle and Flow?
Yeah.
And so, according to him, because she's no longer managed by him, but he had to really fight for her. To get money, like he did, and he was also Halle Berry's manager.
Okay.
But it's just not, and that's part of what he loves to do is to just really advocate for black women in entertainment to make the money, especially in the movies. Like, it's just such a discrepancy between what the white people make and what we make. So yeah, he said he would be like so blue in the face, but it's only so much he could do as her manager. So I wouldn't put it on the management just because I know that personally. But I think it's the industry and what they feel like we are worth. So it's kind of crazy.
Do folks owe Monica an apology?
From jump.
I think that it's a lot of it is the messenger. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily the message, it's the messenger. And she just kind of, I don't want to say she Bill Cosby stuff. Maybe that's a little bit of this liquor talking at this point. Or she's kind of like, how he was so hard on the black community. She's so hard on black women walking around the airport in bonnets. Yet in her special, she talked about how stank her stuff is in a prom dress, and I was like, make it make sense. Like, I don't want to hear nothing about. And I'm amazing, not taking anything away from her, but I think it was, it's the way that you say things, it's the way you come at people. I don't know how she should have done it. I'm not saying that either, but she had to speak up for herself. But again, I just think sometimes it's the messenger and not the message.
Well, a lot of times people decide that they're going to ignore what's been said, even if they know it's true, because they don't like who it came from. You can put it in a pretty little box. Your tone can be sweet as honey. If they decide that they don't like you, they're not going to like what you have to say. They're not going to respect it, and you're going to be the villain. That's just what, like, everybody owes that woman an apology because she said the one thing that Halle, Gabrielle, all of them, none of them would say it because they were comfortable. They're like, oh, well, we're good, so we don't have to speak on that. She stood up. I was like,
but I feel like they also made more money than her too. So Halle Berry for sure made more money than her. So why was she speaking up about?
Her package isn't what white America likes. And truth be told, it's uncomfortable black truth, but her package is not what black America likes. If she was a chocolate woman, cute, sexy, teeny tiny little waist, those standards, and she said that, it would have been received completely differently. If she was a high yellow broad, same thing.
I don't know. Oprah's done pretty well for herself. Like, it's so many people that have had careers that are not necessarily the standard of Hollywood. Again, my perspective is
career or speaking out. Because Oprah didn't start speaking out until she became. But
Oprah did unprecedented things in terms of like owning her own buildings, and like she saw the big picture. She didn't have to. She made power moves behind the scenes that have kept her just where I don't know.
But she spoke out on little to nothing. She made her money. She was smart in her business moves, but she didn't come out and speak up for anybody for a very long time until she was in a position.
Job to do that? I mean, I don't know.
But like, where is the conversation going? Is it her job, or is it like what package makes the messenger acceptable?
Well, what's interesting about that is I think working in Hollywood, as we all know, is a very fickle trap. I almost feel like it's a Venus flytrap because we're being offered things as black people, because Hollywood's very specific when it's like, hey, black people, come. And now it's like, black women, come, Oprah's here, and everything like that, right? And then, to your point, when you... Because what happens is you say, I will join the system, and then I will change it for the better, right? That's the dream, right? And then you get into the system, and when you really start seeing how everything works, you're like, man, but if I destroy the system, then it destroys everything.
Yeah,
it
then there's no work.
everything. There's going to be nothing left because it's so the way the system is so white centric and surrounds capitalism, all that stuff. There's really no way to dismantle it in a way that benefits us 100%. It's like when Barack became president, and you go, why don't you do stuff for black people? It's like, well, first of all, they didn't build the White House with us in mind. So if I wanted to, I have to blow this whole thing up and rebuild it from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing that's going to happen in 8 years.
No.
Not in 8 years.
No.
So now we're moving forward. Taraji did this whole thing. We're now having this conversation about pay discrepancies. Whose fault is it? I mean, I think to a certain extent, Hollywood is still a very racist place, and they're trying to act like they're not until you have to have a deal with them. Now we have $100 million movie, The Color Purple.
I think it was 120 was their budget.
$120 million. But all of the press that we've had has all been about how bad the conditions were, how much Taraji had to fight to get paid, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're dealing with... It hasn't made its money back.
I think they made like 42, 44. Yeah.
Well, because the original one was done for 15 and made 98.
Because it was better.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
It was better.
So here's the big dilemma. We have a staple, a Marvel movie when it comes to The Color Purple, who sits in the hearts of many of our viewers. Our parents loved it. Some of our grandparents. Like, people have watched this for generations at this point. And we've also had a Broadway play. And now we've got a remake with a twist. It's just like, all it takes is a couple of people who's like, I don't want to go see a musical as a movie, and the deal's off. So, like, I get the numbers, even with all the star power, which there was a hell of a lot of it.
It
was
sure was.
There's a lot of star power.
They should have given her a bigger role. Anyway.
But that's the thing. Star power by whose standards?
I mean, just the cast alone, I mean, it's a lot of heavy hitters. We've got Fantasia. I mean, I'll start with mine. We got Fantasia. We got Taraji. We got Holly. We got Danielle Brooks. We got Coleman Domingo, Sierra, Deion Cole, her.
Deion
we got
Cole
Louis,
was in there?
Yeah, he was
the father.
Pa. Louis Gossett Jr., Tamela Mann, David Allen Greer. Who else are some of the hot ones that are popping out? Who else came in? I think those were some of the main ones. I mean, we had Oprah's appearance. We had Gail in there. We had...
Wait, who did Gail play?
Yeah, she was in the church audience. No real
I didn't even
role, but
notice.
she was there.
I mean, you're not going to notice Gail King if she's...
But like,
I didn't notice Dion.
he shaved all his shit off. That's why.
he had no beard. Yeah. So, I mean, like, there's a lot of folks in this film. And pushing on it, and like so their marketing campaign, like it's everywhere. It's a lot of stuff, but
by whose standards?
But here we are. I mean,
I just think black people. I think people just weren't going to see it.
You
I
think
think
they spent
I think
all
it's
their
just
Christmas
too.
money?
I think it's too. Oh, I don't want to say dated is a better word. I think it's just a dated. Me personally, I'm over segregation. I'm over all this shit. I'm not. If it has segregation involved, I'm not going to see it. I'm out. That's just me. I'm over all of that kind of stuff. Anything where you have to call somebody, well, Miss such and such, well, Miss, I'm done. I can't do it.
you know what? I've heard that more and more. It's just like, I ain't trying to see no more slave films, no more of that. Like, I'm thinking positive. I'm thinking progressive. I mean, I'm a history guy. I enjoy history. I enjoy war films. I enjoy period pieces. So, like, this worked for me to a certain extent, and The Color Purple sits deeply in my heart. I think it goes down as one of the best like historical context films that's got a lot of comedy and a lot of dark, like deep rooted issues that the culture has experienced, from rape to abuse to domestic violence to families and separation to racism and civil rights. And I guess this is kind of pre-post Jim Reconstruction
It's 1920.
era, Reconstruction period. Then
to
so
1940 something.
like it's got a lot of stuff in there. But this is your favorite movie,
Hell no.
the original?
I loved it, the original. But
I
if I want,
liked it.
I love the story, and I agree with everything you said.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna go watch the old one.
Understood.
I wasn't gonna go see.
I prefer the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get into the movie itself, since we're talking about whether we like black trauma movies,
Put that out there. My favorite movie. Lies you tell.
It was a question. A question, not a statement.
well, it's fucked up because some women be like, that was my favorite childhood movie. It's like, it explains
And that
a lot.
explains a lot. Okay, Suge.
Because I was on the
hell.
Instagram Live
Yeah.
and we talked about The Color Purple, and I was like, I'm not a fan of it. And everyone was trying to pull my black card because they're like, you never saw it, you don't like it. And I said, this is the reason why I don't like The Color Purple. I'm going to talk about it. But this is the reason why I don't like the movies The Color Purple or slave movies or black trauma movies. It's not necessarily because the movie itself is being made. I feel like they're always made for the wrong reasons.
Tell me more.
Why do I say that? Because every time a director is like, I'm making this slave movie, or I'm making this movie about a black,
Why do you go into your Sambo voice? to
because well, I'm making this slave movie, and I'm going to make
Keenan's
this
first
movie
big movie.
about black trauma, and I'm going to make this movie about us marching with Martin Luther King, right? Because people need to learn. And you're like, all right, cool, let's do it, right? And then no one goes to see it.
Yeah.
It doesn't get nominated for any Oscars. It doesn't win anything. And then they go, well, Hollywood's racist. They don't blah, 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 blah. And then my question is, well, then why'd you make the movie then? Because if you don't want to make the movie, then don't make it.
Yeah.
Every single time there's a new movie that's like a slave movie or a remake or whatever, there's always a bunch of black people in the comments. Hey, where's the niggas in space movie? Where's the niggas on dragons movie? How come we're not... Why aren't we?
Because it's still white producers and white directors.
In the submarine and all that stuff.
And then when we do get into sci-fi, it gets canceled after one season. Whose fault is that? Like, think about Lovecraft. We're giving you what you want.
Lovecraft was amazing.
That was good. That was really good. I don't know why it got canceled.
Lovecraft was amazing.
I mean, the shit would have been canceled now anyway with Jonathan Majors, but
Yeah.
here we are.
Not with his Coretta. It can come back with Coretta.
You know what? I think that's where Jonathan got fucked up, because that movie takes place that show took place in the 50s, and he got stuck. He's been method
still
acting.
there.
He's been method acting all of this time.
I feel like Martin Luther King should come out of his grave, smack the
If
shit out
anyone
of
needs to be
Jonathan
haunted
Majors.
Do y'all
Martin
remember
Luther
that episode of the Boondocks where
Yes.
Martin Luther King back?
I really
came,
should have approved
"Niggas
on
is-"
this.
I'll call
That was
Megan
so
good
funny.
Coretta. Nigga.
This is the fourth time we mentioned Jonathan Majors on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's a theme. But
He learned his lesson.
Do you think so?
I mean, I hope so.
We'll see.
The court of public opinion. Look, whatever. That's neither here nor there. I won't go there.
So let's talk about it. The original, near and dear, or kind of familiar to your hearts. You liked it. How did this new twist with Fantasia and Taraji and the crew sit with you when you went to see it?
I didn't go see it.
Okay. Just straight boycott, or just haven't had time?
I just haven't had a chance to
Okay,
see it.
fair enough.
But I do want to go support.
Okay, so we are going to spoil a lot for you today.
That's fine.
Okay.
But I'm very familiar with the story.
Okay.
There's nothing to spoil.
The disappointment.
Did you see it Christmas Day? Mm-hmm. With your whole family or what?
Hell no. I saw it with two girlfriends of mine. So one of my homeboys was in it. He was in one of the last scenes when everything was going wrong for Mister and they were in the field. He's like, the dirt's dry, like
With the
that.
Beatles.
That was
Okay.
him. Hey, John. So I went to see it for that reason. I had no interest at all in seeing the musical movie version of this. I've seen the original. I've read the book. I went to the Broadway play. I'm good. It wasn't bad. I will say that. But I will never feel compelled to watch it again. And I also want to say that the ticket was purchased for me by my friend.
Why do you have to go on record?
Because
I wouldn't have done it if it was my choice.
no, I would not. I absolutely. Do you know how much the tickets are at the Grove to go see some shit I
Yeah.
really don't even want to go see?
That's why you need AMC A-list.
Absolutely
But,
not. Everyone keeps
AMC
telling me
sponsor
that.
us.
I
Anyway,
also
go ahead.
needed to update my phone. I hadn't done that in 2 years. Clearly, I don't do the things I'm supposed to. The point is, didn't particularly love it. I could have done without it.
Yeah.
I didn't need the music. I found myself getting into it
I've heard that a couple times.
and enjoying it. And like, oh, okay, you know, like this is dope. And then here come niggas dancing and singing in the street, and I'm like,
Yeah.
This is not the
I'm-
Wiz.
So
Thank you.
Here's my
Thank
question
you.
for y'all. Do you feel like the new Color Purple treated it more like an IP than a story on its own? As in, an IP is like Transformers, where you play with the toys. You have the cartoons and all that stuff. So when you see the movie, you're like, oh, that's the nigga from over there, because you're familiar with it. And is that what kind of took away in comparison to the old one?
you want to take that one?
I mean, no is the answer. In its
And I don't-
simplest, shortest form, no.
No, and I think they looked at it as a quick money grab. I think they were expecting this movie to do a lot better than it did,
Me too.
based upon what they do with any other sequels or remakes. And it's like, oh, this is a sure shot because this worked, so this obviously has to work. And no,
Well, so when I said IP, I meant like they expected you to know the story already. Because to me,
Well, yes, that was required.
yeah, the new movie felt like it was the Cliff Notes of the old movie.
Very much so.
It was the highlight reel. of all the
God
old
bless
stuff.
you for saying that so articulate. Thank you,
Yeah.
because that is exactly how I felt. I was like, oh, okay, so we're just not really going to dive into the story.
Well, because let's talk about the 1985 version of the movie, right? Steven Spielberg made the 1985 version. This is a man that just came off Jaws, just came off 2 Indiana Jones movies, and E.T.
He was locked
Right,
in at that
and
point,
E.T.
okay?
So this
Locked
man,
in.
you're talking about the best filmmaker working at the moment.
Still, to me.
Yeah, he's very good. But the best filmmaker working at the moment is making this movie, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm watching the movie, the old one, I'm like, oh shit, this is magnificent. Like, I'm not like a fan of the material or but I'm like, this is an amazing movie. And there's no way you can watch that and then go and watch this version,
Yeah.
which is the modern making of it. Because if you take the 2 opening scenes, Spielberg is amazing at reveals. So the opening scene is Celia and Eddie in the field, right? They're doing patty cake.
Yep.
They're running through the field and stuff. Then they come out of the weeds, and then the reveal is Celia's pregnant. The new movie, the opening credits, they're in the tree.
You were confused too?
No,
They're in the tree, just like chilling, like
Yeah.
doing patty cake in the tree. She's pregnant because the assumption is we already know Celia's pregnant. It's not revealed to us who she is.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
super
And no, I
valid
didn't see
because if you take the book, it's clearly an adaptation film. So if you take the book and you took the book and then came to this new school version, 2023's version,
You would throw the book at the screen like I wanted
you'd be
to.
so devastated and pissed off because one, the book is significantly more graphic and detailed compared to even the 85 film. Okay. And then we fast forward into the microwave version and you're just like, but what about all the way through? So like it was the first time I watched that, I went with a group of women, my wife, her mom, and their friends and stuff. And I go for just entertainment reasons. If it wasn't for the podcast, I would not have rewatched it because I didn't take any notes. But I just went for the entertainment factor. And if you're just looking for just pure entertainment without like seamless storytelling or great acting,
It's like watching Law
then
and
it's
Order
just
on
like,
repeat.
yeah, it's on. You
Yeah.
know, it's on. I'll
Background
watch it.
noise.
But like, if I'm flicking through the channels today and I came across it, I'd probably keep going.
Yeah.
The original Color Purple, I'd probably stop and at least take in 20, 30 minutes just to relive the moment for a second. But it's not going to happen with this. I had a lot of stuff that I enjoyed and laughed at from a comedic standpoint, but there was times where I'm like, what is this shucking and jiving stuff? And when did they just start doing flash mobs like out of nowhere?
Thank you.
And like, so I will give them this. So I would call it the uninitiated to the original. Like the music and song did take you through what was going on to move the story along.
Yeah.
But to me, that's just bad writing because you should have been able to get there throughout the script. But like, I don't know.
The music should have stayed with the musical on Broadway.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't need to translate into film. And I feel like this film versus the Spielberg version, Spielberg seemed like he read the book and appreciated it.
It was almost a complete adaptation.
Yes.
It was.
This
Yes.
version,
Took liberties.
it felt disrespectful to Ann Walker.
Oh,
To me.
okay.
To me. As a writer, I looked at it and said, wow, this is what you got from this great work. Got it.
Interesting.
Got it.
Well, and the thing, and I didn't read the book or saw the play, but the thing that I liked about, and preference, I didn't like the movie, but the thing I liked about the
Either of them.
I didn't like any of them, but as a cinephile, I have to preference that. By the way, I did like the movie Hoteps. I don't support. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway,
Can Hoteps be left behind this year?
yes. Do they watch our podcast? I don't even know.
We'll see. Who knows? I doubt it.
I'm like, if I smell patchouli on a nigga one more time.
They probably why this dude got a dashiki? He ain't even all the way with us.
Yeah. So as a film fan, Spielberg played the original movie, like it really felt like an Indiana Jones film. It felt like Jaws because there was funny elements,
Yeah.
there was surprises, and there was scary shit in
Yeah.
the movie.
The suspense.
Like Mister was scary.
yeah.
And the scene where Mister tried to assault Nettie, let's go with the new version. The new version is he sneaks into her room and tries to get at her. I mean, that's scary for someone that's been through that, I guess.
I mean, it's scary. If you get sleep and a grown ass
you're
man
yes.
comes into it.
But like as an audience, you're like, oh, I see this. I know what's happening. I see it coming. I'm uncomfortable watching it, but I don't necessarily feel dread because, again,
That emotional tug wasn't there.
the emotional tug wasn't there. Now, when you do Spielberg and they're walking through that moss and
Your heart's racing.
Mister's over here
Yeah.
Yeah.
and he's on the horse
And he disappears.
and then he disappears and the horse is just walking
Yeah.
and you're like,
My resting heart rate was very
Yes.
low during this movie.
I was like,
You know what? That is magic. I never
Yeah.
thought about this internal,
Yeah.
what's going on? How close to the edge emotionally am I being
Cinema?
pushed? Okay, talk to me. Talk to me.
It was trash. It was absolutely trash what they did to this movie. And I know it's not popular. I know since we when did it become unacceptable as a black person to have constructive criticism or just openly say that you don't like something that another black person did? I think it started with Insecure.
Instagram.
No, Insecure.
I'm gonna take it back. Instagram.
That's where it started.
That's when it started.
I feel like the minute people started to say, "Oh, you know what? That first season was really awesome," or I liked Awkward Black Girl, but I didn't really like this. How dare you? She's doing her thing. It's like it's snowballed. We're not allowed anymore to say, you know what?
To criticize.
Or even to just observe and express, like, I appreciate what they did. I haven't done it. I appreciate it from that standpoint, but it wasn't for me. We're not allowed to say that. With this movie, and I keep going back to the same word. It was disrespectful to Ann Walker. This was
Alice.
like Alice Walker. Sorry, Johnny Walker. It felt like it wasn't in the microwave. It was like the Hot Pocket version of The Color Purple, and the shit was still frozen in the middle.
Well, let's run through the comparisons, right? So I think the music element did take some tension away from the film. I did think that there was some expansions to the characters that I did like, and I saw most of that in the third act versus throughout the film. But I thought Halle Bailey was cool. I thought she was a good Nettie. I think she was very supportive.
Why couldn't we age her?
Oh, why did we turn her into Sierra?
Because he and I had this conversation. I was like, I don't want to be petty, but I thought as we got older, we shrunk. So Halle Bailey, I'm like, she was 5'2".
Yeah, and then jumped to 6'1".
She's a basketball player by the end of the film. I'm like, I'm confused.
She was in Africa.
Yeah.
They put one of those rings around her body.
The sun made her grow up?
They stretched her neck out. That's why.
Who was the director?
Blitz.
They don't know that we shrink as we
They
age.
definitely
Okay.
could have aged her.
Yeah, they could have aged her up.
They could have aged.
She
Quite
didn't
honestly,
have that many lines that
they
that
could
we
have
needed a new
aged
character.
the young girl
Now,
that played Celie.
One of the criticisms that I did hear from people that went to go see it was that her didn't have a bigger role. Like, a couple people told me that for a real singer, when they trained Taraji to sing, and she just, I don't know how she did. I didn't see it,
I
but
thought she did well.
Okay.
Vocally.
Okay.
I didn't realize it was her until
Yeah, they were all
So she
singing.
could sing.
They were
There's
all
a-
singing.
There's
yeah.
a lot
I
of.
guess.
Do you remember, what was it? I don't even remember what year. I drank a lot. Hustle and Flow, when they won the
2007, I think.
2007. If you either want to, I don't even care who hears it. It's my feeling. If you either want to laugh very hard or be traumatized, YouTube Taraji's performance for "It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp."
Girl, I don't have time for you.
You're welcome.
I am gonna
It's
look
either
at it
you're
later.
welcome or I'm sorry. One of the two. Go do that.
I'm definitely gonna
You
look
asked
at
me
it.
to be here.
So the director, so the director of The Color Purple 2023, it's Blitz Bazawule. He's Ghanaian. What were we talking about? See,
Why
We were
Sierra was there.
why Sierra was there and not
6'2".
Halle Bailey?
But we were also going to compare and contrast.
Because they needed the names. Originally they were
Sierra's not gonna make me spend $22.50 on a movie ticket.
Originally, who they were originally trying to get to be in this
Who?
movie? Beyonce and Rihanna.
What?
Yes,
And they obviously passed.
and they passed. They
That
passed
was
on
the
film.
smartest thing.
So they got Fantasia and
Who are they gonna be?
Taraji P. They were going to
Rihanna
be the
was gonna
leads.
pond a replay in the mossy fields. Make it make sense.
That's
Like-
why I did not know that.
Yeah.
would've
They
been-
didn't warn you.
I would've
I just
been
don't
even
give a
more
damn.
in.
That's the stupid. I've never heard that.
So
I'd have been
funny.
so
That's the
embarrassed.
stupidest shit.
I mean,
Beyonce.
to be fair, Beyonce
As
is
what?
is a great performer,
As
but
Mister?
Beyonce can't really act.
She's gonna be Mister. Who is Beyonce gonna be?
Shug.
She was going to be either. She's going to be Shug.
She was going to be Shug.
She's going to be Shug. Who you think she was going to be? She's got her. Rihanna. We're going to kiss.
Actually, I would have enjoyed seeing her as Shug.
Beyonce?
Yes. I mean, seeing
Okay.
her, yeah,
then
I
go
could've
back.
loved it.
Go back and watch Obsessed. Go
Or-
back
or
and
listen
watch
to her
The
be-
Fighting
or
Temptations.
her be Nala in The Lion King.
Oh my God, that ruined my childhood.
Stop it. Stop it. What was the singer? Why can't I think of her
Her?
name? No. Beyonce's movie when she played the singer with the white manager.
Cadillac Records?
Yes, I thought that was good.
It's been a while since I've seen Cadillac Records.
She played a good alcoholic. That's the most I've ever found her to be believable. Like sad and bleary eyed
I like
into a
Carmen.
cup.
And Dreamgirls.
The hip
It was a
opera?
musical, the hip
No.
opera.
Carmen.
I don't.
She was good in Dreamgirls. I enjoyed her in Dreamgirls. But Jennifer Hudson was also in Dreamgirls, so that's why she.
I'm getting PTSD remembering these films.
I'm sorry. Let me take you
Stop
from that
naming
place.
Beyonce.
So going going back to the comparing the two films. So we had Halle Bailey and the girl that played the young person. What I didn't like about the new movie was that they took out their entire relationship. Their entire relationship was education.
Correct.
And learning how to read.
You know we don't like books.
So I understood what they were trying to do with Halle Bailey because they were like, "Oh, she gonna grow up to be a doctor. She gonna grow up to like." I understand that part.
They just played it out and was like, Nettie's dumb. Excuse me. Celi's dumb. Nettie's smart. Take the, what's she called? The ugly room when you can have her. You can't have my Nettie.
Yeah, because my Nettie's
like,
going to be the one that's going to be somebody. And it's like, no, Nettie literally was like, I'm going to teach you how to read. I'm going to teach you all this shit because you need to be able to stand on your own. Like, this is for us. Because it's a plot point. It's a plot point.
Not in this version.
I'm teaching you how to read and write. It's that if we're separated, you will write me.
Yes.
And you will read my letters.
To tell the whole story.
So when Halle Bailey goes, make sure you write. Bitch, that don't make sense. You took out the entire reason.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but that
it was like
would have
you're
infuriated
it's
me.
like comedy. You're setting up the joke.
You're setting
and
it up.
If you take the setup away, then there is no
The
joke.
punchline fell flat.
If I had never seen the 1985 version,
You got nothing.
I would have been like, I don't get it. I'll be like, if you take a date to the movies and she's asking you the whole, I'm like, I'm sorry.
You realize Celie couldn't have read the book in this version of the movie.
This is true.
Nettie never got a chance to teach her.
We never saw a book.
We never saw a book.
Never saw
because
a book.
you had that amazing scene when they're in the kitchen when she's buried off the mister, right? And they have everything.
Yeah.
They have everything written.
Yeah. Pan, knife, door, window.
And then the mister, and then Danny Glover is in the door, and he's like, stop wasting your time with this bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was wild was like as soon as she got in the house, the house was a wreck. So when Celie gets to the house, she just got married off or whatever, and there was no marriage or wedding.
You
Wasn't
noticed that
either,
too.
But it would have been nice to see if you were taking your liberties. Like, let's get them married. Or whatever.
I thought maybe I had dozed off.
In the new version, he's like, "Come on now!"
Yeah,
and he
let's
jumped
go.
on this horse and just followed him
She
to
just
the house.
walks back behind the horse. But as soon as she gets in there and like, all right, make me some food. Why is this whap? I was like, whoa, we're just opening, starting a relationship with a backhand. Just come on.
You
bruh.
were inside the house for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids was like, best food I ever had. Blah blah blah. I'm like, shit.
Throwing the plate on the floor. I'm like, what? It just felt rushed, and I don't understand. Oh, we needed time for the songs. That's why
So there's that.
Yeah.
wow.
So I could live with the songs if they would have kept the good songs. Like,
Why would we do that?
so powerful scene in the original. They're at the juke joint. You hear the church going, that whole tension back and forth, and they walk across the field. The band's playing and following along. God's trying to tell you something. To reunite, the classic Tyler Perry. All right, we got to come to Jesus at the end. What we saw in the 5 heartbeats, like that was a chilling moment. Like I'm getting chills just talking about it. That was the scene I wanted, and
think the
they
air condition
simplified
just
it
kicked on.
and dumbed it down where it's just like, oh, she comes in there and just sits gracefully at the piano with David Allen Greer, who's playing the pastor again.
He's always playing the pastor in movies
I was
now.
like, Leon Lottie Love. I was like, yes. All right. So, nonetheless, I was just like, that was a moment. I feel like there was a couple other songs that were from the original and like just boom. Sister, when they did it when she at the news spot where it went off to Memphis.
Oh, when
And they did it in the damn like house versus the juke joint and how it's feeling and slinging. It was just, I just felt like there was missed opportunities and liberties that they took with
The
great
whole
music.
movie was a missed
I
opportunity.
know how you feel.
To not do it.
I will say this. I'm glad that they expanded the role of the pastor and they made it more clear his relationship between him and Suge. Because when I saw the 1985 version, and maybe I wasn't paying attention, but their relationship wasn't clear to me. Because at first I was like, is she like ex-wife. First of all, Suge in the original was kind of older. She looked older.
I mean, Taraji looked older.
Yeah, but there was David Allen Greer, and you're like, oh, okay.
But 80's old and our and today's
that is
old.
true.
Yeah,
Two different things.
12-year-olds look 30.
The pastor and Suge in the original looked about the same age. So I was like, okay, is she
How
an
they
ex-wife
connect.
or something that left?
See, and that was another thing that bothered me about the film, because in both the book and the 85 film, they did talk about the fact that Suge came back and she needed to be nursed to health because she was sick, likely from STDs, from her being a promiscuous woman. I'm like, so we're just going to gloss over that.
That's
it's
nasty woman's disease.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like we're just not going, okay, we're just going to have Fantasia bringing her food and combing her hair, but we're not ever going to talk about something that was a big part of the story. But okay, cool.
And didn't really get into the whole bisexual relationship.
I was gonna say
which
that. That's what I heard too.
I thought they kind of glossed over it, but they did it so damn cheesy. You've got her in the tub.
Did you
Now,
want
is this
tripping?
the new version? The 2023 version?
Brand new version,
The
2023
Hot Pocket.
version. We've got Taraji in the tub. We got Fantasia, about to leave, but she's like, "No, you need to stay." And then all of a sudden, after she wound the crank or whatever, she ends up walking around singing this damn melody on a 45.
On the 45.
Right? I'm just like, come on, bro. This is cheesy.
And the reason it's cheesy is because...
Is that what made Boosie walk out?
The reason it's cheesy is because...
You have to be stopped. You have to be stopped.
The reason it's cheesy... Every time Dicey's on one of my podcasts, there's always some bullshit that pops up that she has to that she has. By the way, every time there's podcast, she's like, by the way, I don't condone anything said on this.
Yeah.
I do not agree
Right.
with her.
These
Yeah.
are not all
So-
my thoughts or opinions.
So just because you see my face doesn't mean I condone any of this shit. They didn't set up the rules in the movie. Because we don't know that there's a fantasy. I didn't know that there's going to be a fantasy element to the movie.
Very much.
Yeah.
So.
If you would have established that at the beginning, like maybe if the opening scene was a fantasy of her and her sister doing something, then I'm like, oh, okay, so she has like this vivid imagination, right? So then when it happened, it would have been less cheap. You have to establish the rules for us so that we're like, yo, that's kind of
The first time it happened was at the shop. In town, she's at Pa's shop, which I think they lived there. They lived upstairs. And
Yeah,
made
they
a
lived
scene,
upstairs.
right? So she goes out around the corner and then goes into this dream escapade real fast, and then it brings us back
Did she
to
like
reality.
step through a mirror or something, like something to that effect, or
I don't know. It was weird. I just was like, oh.
yeah.
I couldn't figure out what was happening. It was like, oh, we're back to reality. But like,
Oh
it was
no,
obvious.
she was like
She saw
the
it.
waterfall scene.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what was that?
So she's in Africa or something.
What was that? I was just like, is this like a throw against like the whole challenge scene in Black Panther with the waterfall and then they're walking through it? Is this like homage or what?
So it starts off with Haley saying, "Oh, by the way, in Africa, we're kings and queens." Well, she didn't say kings. She said we're because fuck
yeah.
dudes.
Or like we're royalty.
She says we're royalty.
said
So that
queens,
means in Africa we're
specifically.
queens.
Yeah.
So then she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to go over here and have my Doug Funny moment and imagine I'm like in Africa."
It's a good ass cartoon.
And
It's
so
better than this movie. But continue.
okay, so there was that element. So she's like in Africa, but then it's like, but she didn't go to Africa though. Nettie went to Africa.
Yeah.
Why
So-
are you trying to have logic?
No, because I'm a film person.
So you wanted it to be an exact replica of the original?
No, you can't do the original.
So-
because it was so iconic. But you can also make a good movie. Like this could have been Blitz's version, right? I'll tell you a scene that cannot be replicated in the new version because it was so iconic in the first version. The shaving scene.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the shaving scene in the first movie, it was so good that you can't do it in the new version, but it ruins the new version. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Wow, that's very
It did
interesting.
Yeah.
again. It's that emotional pull that you were looking for. Like there wasn't that extreme tug on the heartstrings.
Yeah.
And like you're like, all right, it started out good. When she was sharpening the knife, the beat was rocking. I'm like, all right, boom, we getting lit. Now and then it was just like they chopped it off so quickly that it was just like. Even with her coming up and like the whole scene before, like Suge was like running, like Miss Celia, I'm coming to save you type thing, like stop, don't kill him, and then they just jump right in. I'm like, all right, that was super rushed.
But this is how they did in the 1985 version. The first time it was done, it was directed by a man who had just in Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Duel.
And who knew how scary it would be if a bitch was trying to
NET.
cut his throat while
So-
shaving him.
Okay.
I gotta run and get Dave. Y'all can
Okay, cool. So the scene is bookended at the end of the movie. At the first end of the movie. When she shaves him the first time, she's a little girl, right? And the way that they establish the stakes of the film, the stakes of the scene, it's established immediately. Before the blade even touched his throat, Danny Glover goes,
Right.
"You cut me and I'll kill you."
You know that she wants to go in there and kill him too.
Yeah.
By the way,
But the first time we know that she's afraid of him because she's a girl. The first time,
she's not afraid of him anymore, though. When she
No.
goes, I feel like that's the scene where she's not afraid of him anymore.
but this is why the scene is so great, because we know what's at stake at the beginning of the movie. We've already seen him hit her.
Okay.
We've already seen, so he's like, "I'm gonna kill you," right? So we're already like,
You're afraid for
so the
her.
camera is like
Okay.
here when they're chopping. The camera's like here, so we have that uncomfortable. We're like, "Oh my god, if she cuts him, he's gonna like shoot her in the face." Like we're really scared, right? So there's that high tension because we already know what's at stake, right? So she's a girl then, right? Then when we get to the end of the movie, where she gets the letters and she finds out the truth about communicating with their sister and whether she was getting letters or not, and then he comes and he hits her as an adult. He hits her as an adult, and already you can see in her face that she's already grown as a character. She's an adult now. She's been reading these letters. She knows that he's been lying to her. Once he hits her, she's like, "I'm going to kill this nigga."
Yeah.
Right? So then when it cuts to the second half of the scene, which is when she's an adult and she has all of this knowledge and she knows she's been unplugged from the Matrix, that's when we cut to her sharpening, and she's not sharpening, she's sharpening it like this, right? And in the 2023 version, Fantasia's like, "Oh, I'm gonna shave you." But in this version, she's holding the thing like she's in Dragon Ball Z. She's holding the razor like this, and she's like, "I'm gonna kill this nigga." And then you have the cut between the female circumcision in Africa and all that shit going on.
Powerful
with the African drums, and all that stuff, and it's like Celia's like, "I'm gonna kill." So she's not even going to shave him. She's going like this when Suge grabs her arm.
Yeah, it's about to go down.
And then what happens is that's what makes the dinner scene even more powerful, because the next scene is they all have dinner.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. So when you do the 2023 version, none of that tension exists
No.
at the dinner, because we haven't had that build up. We don't have that build up, because when you're sitting at dinner with Whoopi Goldberg, Danny Glover, the scene is played perfectly, where they're sitting there, and when she starts taunting him, he's like, you'll be better off dead anyway, blah blah blah. That's the only way you're gonna like stop fucking with me or whatever, right? And then his dad's like, "You gonna let your bitch talk to?" He's at the dinner table like this. It's like, "You gonna let your bitch talk to you like that at the dinner table?"
Woman just talk to you like that.
Well, yeah.
In your own house on your own roof.
I got this, father. He's like, "Yeah, you gonna let your woman just talk to you like that?"
And Miss Sophia, boy, when she get that laugh, that always cracks me.
Yeah, that. Oh my god.
Let's Miss Sophia home now. Miss Sophia home.
You know what? In all honesty, Danielle Brooks was the only part of that movie that I enjoyed.
She was amazing.
The only part of that movie. I feel
Wow.
like she saved
She's
that
amazing.
movie.
She was passionate about what she was doing. She acted well.
She acted her ass off.
She's active, and she showed up and cooked.
Are y'all fans of Miss Sophia, ladies? Are y'all? Fans
Oh, hell yeah.
Of the character Miss Sophia.
Yeah.
You like that she hits her man?
She didn't take.
I don't
no
condone
shit.
violence from,
I don't like that she hit him, but I feel like her character was well written. I feel like her character was what a lot of women that were abused wish they could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
she
feel
was
like
a great
she-
outlet for that.
Yeah. I feel like she was in the imagination of the women that were forced to stay at home, couldn't have jobs, couldn't do for themselves. Miss Sophia embodied who they wish they could be.
Also, to show a man getting hit.
Yeah.
Like,
was unheard of.
yeah.
Getting cracked.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So to
Yeah.
your point, I think that they did talk about that. So Celie said, like, everybody ain't like you. I wish I could be like you. I wish I could stand up for myself. I just don't know how to. So for you to take that away, so my view, of course, was slightly different, but the same. And you feeling that as a woman, a black woman specifically.
I'm black?
Well, you have color. So a woman of color.
All right, Carlton
having that,
Portia.
having that takeaway, like for me, it was just like, all right, Miss Sophia didn't take no shit, and she wasn't gonna be walked over. And the women I know who grew up with brothers stood up for themselves and weren't gonna be any pushovers. And like even the humor in all my life, I had to fight my daddy, I had to fight my. There's humor in that, but it's also very dark to know that you're a black woman and have never been in a safe space your entire life.
Yeah.
But the delivery it brings comedy to it, so you have that juxtaposition there, which that's what makes the film, the original, like and hot.
And I feel like that's what we need as black people. We need to have the medicine, but it has to be diabetes sugarfoot covered.
A spoonful of
like
sugar. in
we
it.
can't just put it out. Like if The Color Purple, especially the original, if it was portrayed without the comedy, I don't think any of us could have taken it. I could have taken it.
It would have been
'cause
too traumatic.
It was a lot.
we need the humor.
And we've already lost guys like Keenan. He's not about to watch it because it's so dark, and you don't want to watch it no more because it's more trauma.
Well, I will say this. I do like how they portrayed Harpo and Sophia in the new movie. I do. I think I'm going to stick with that. Yeah,
It was cute.
I like how Harpo they were fun. Like it wasn't
Heavy.
heavy. Like the way Corey Hawkins did it, portrayed him, and Danielle Brooks. I'm a big fan of Danielle Brooks. I want to work with her.
No, like I love her.
I want to work with her sooner than later. But the fact that they had like this playful, because what they represent to me, they represented what the world expected them to be, but they weren't that. Because Harpo wasn't an abuser, but he was influenced to be. You know what I mean? Because he was like, look, I love Sophia. I'm going to hold the baby and hammer the shingles.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm happy with that. And then everyone's like, no, you need to, like, beat her. Like, you need to, like, put her in her place. And he's like, well, okay. And then he tries to die and he gets punched in the face, but he's not, like, you know, he didn't want to, like, leave her. He was like, look, I hit her and she hit me back. I don't.
Yeah. And she left me.
And she left.
Right.
Which-
But I also think that Sophia's character, if you really look at it, it did show that a lot of times you can have black women with really supportive and kind black men, and then they walk all over them.
Yeah.
I feel like their dynamic, I'm not saying like, okay, you know, when she acts up, like you just got to get a backhand. Not at all. But I do think their dynamic, if people really look at it, it was trying to show you, you know what? A lot of black men do start off loving their black women, but they let society tell them, you're not supposed to love her this hard.
They listen to too many podcasts.
And let me add this. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm with you for the most part,
Yeah.
but I also think it shows kind of the current state of black men and women's relationship.
What relationship?
Well, there is a relationship, and there always will be.
You and your wife,
I'm
the
not-
only ones.
Well, and we have a dynamic relationship too. But like we have a culture.
I've
where,
seen some shit.
I mean, me too. But my thing is, we have a culture fundamentally where black men really just want peace and respect,
Yeah.
and to be heard. We also have a culture where black women have had to fight and scrap for so much to be heard, to have a seat at the table, that their femininity has been transformed into to masculine behavior. And when you have two men in the household, unless that's their pronoun or lifestyle, then like there's a combative nature.
Yeah.
But there's still no resolution as to how we fix that or mend it. The end of it was to separate and find another man who ultimately left also. So now what story are we telling?
Well, it's interesting about the Sophia and Harpo dynamic is that they got along at the end after society put them in their place. Which I think when we talk about the viewpoint of women, of black women specifically, coming across as masculine and stuff, but it's like, do you see the type of jobs that black women have? There's a black woman that has to sit in the UN and be like, I support X, Y, and Z. I represent the government. Like, do you understand who's
And you don't even have to go up that high. And I mean, it's so many black women also that have to raise their whole families. And, you know, I mean, black men decide to leave and they decide not to be there.
I mean, and what's interesting about that is that there's the Sophia and Harpo thing, I think, is like a good representation of like what we're talking about how people think, especially when they're in these relationships. Because again, without everyone else, they seem to have a dynamic that worked.
Very much so.
But then everyone started getting into their head, and then you come down to the aspect of talking about a woman that's raising her kids by herself, or a man that's trying to who loves his women or his wife or whatever, but then there's this element of, well, you're a simp and you're this and that and all that stuff, and then you let people kind of poison what it is that you have.
Yeah.
Right? So like the representation like in the movie was, it took Sophia to be humiliated by what was society at that time.
Yeah.
By the racism and the being in jail and basically getting a lobotomy in prison, basically, because she wasn't herself when she came out of prison.
Yeah.
Or after she got hit. Or she had to serve this white woman who didn't even like black people. Like because like in the original, you have the part where the mayor's wife brings Sophia to her children's house. And she's trying to drive and she can't drive. So there's that funny scene where she's driving through town. Everyone's jumping out the way. Then she finally, and they're like, yo, we're trying to help you.
Yeah.
And she's like, black men are going to like rape me or whatever, right? So you have this person that represents this system that's holding everybody down. And then in the 2023 movie, because did they get back together in the 1985 movie?
No,
They didn't get back together. They did. But in the 2023 movie, they did. So they got back together at the end of the movie. So it's and they were happy at the end of the 2023 version. You know what I mean? Like they ran the juke joint together, and Squeak left. You know, I guess Harpo likes big women. You know, Squeak just wasn't. But it's an interesting.
Squeak left.
Yeah, Squeak left. She went to Memphis to become a singer or something.
It just, when I see the changes that they make in these films, it makes me wonder the why.
Yeah.
I always question the why, because every single thing that is put out for our consumption, there's always a hidden message in it. And I know that can sound very conspiracy theory-esque, but
you want to know.
I want to know the why.
It's the intellectual curiosity. And you're just like, what were you trying to land? Where were you trying to land, first of all? Where were you going with this?
Because
leave well
the
enough
choices were
alone.
very intentional. They were very intentional. And what, like you said, you know, once society humbled her and humiliated her. Well, now we can be happy.
Now we can be happy.
And when you see all of the cash at me so I know it's real, what do you bring to the table? Because we are sitting in that era, when I see a film like that and I see that change, I wonder, is this the message that you're trying to send us?
Yeah, talk to me. Society got to humble black women and put them in their place before they can be happy. Like, that's not the message that I want to resonate.
I'm not. I don't want to say that I'm cynical, but I will acknowledge that I'm slightly jaded. I'm not the ideal person to bring to this movie on Christmas Day, because I remember, like, my friends kept looking at me like the whole time. I could feel them looking at me like, is she enjoying it? I'm like, bitch, no, I didn't want to be here. But at the end of it, they're like, so what'd you think? And all I could tell them was, I appreciate the effort. That was all I had for it, because there were so many things that I saw within this version where I felt like black women were getting talked to. It's like you were feeding us poison out of a really pretty bottle. That's how I felt with a lot of the messages that I was seeing, with a lot of the differences that I saw in this from the 1985, from the book, from the play. I said, I feel like I just grabbed my ankles and nobody took me to dinner first.
Oh, wow.
That's how I felt about
Listen,
it.
I'm from the country. We said, don't piss on me and tell me it's raining outside. Like, I feel that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you actually sharing that. I always think it's important for men to acknowledge that we don't understand women like women understand women, and how things resonate.
Say it again.
For you did not land the same way with me, although I saw it.
Yeah.
And to have that perspective, it wasn't a complete aha moment, but it was just like, okay, completely different. I just thought it was trash for other reasons, but to also see the underlying messaging that you received, like, wait a minute, is this for me? I don't want it, give it back type thing. I just keep thinking, like, kind of like cartoony, cheesy, like, and where it really came to me is like every time she would come back, one, she was in a new car, and it felt real Cruella de Vil, like,
thank you.
Just coming
she even had
town.
the jacket on, like, she's like, I made this from 101 Dalmatians.
Irritated, and then I'm sitting here looking at, like, all right, this threesome that's going on, and we got, like, it's a bad threesome. Anybody who's had a threesome that didn't go well, it's usually because bad. Like, all right, as a man, there's two ladies, and then, like, all right, they've forgotten about me, and, like, they're locked into their own world. I'm just standing here, like, I was just like, did they mean to do that?
I mean, at the end of the day, Mister was just an alcoholic. They both were. I will say this though: the things I did like about the movie was that Celie was thick as hell. This movie, I'm with my cousins. All my cousins are women. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to sit here and take notes for my podcast. And I'm just like, yo, Celie thick as hell.
Fantasia.
Thick as hell.
I mean, that's North Carolina.
So did they pick Fantasia because she was illiterate and had her ass Celie? I was like, did they do this on purpose?
Get out of my head.
Now, is she illiterate still?
There was a whole. I mean,
she was.
She was. She can read them right now, but like when she first came out, like, that wasn't a thing. And I'm like, did they do this on purpose? Like, you gotta be kidding me if this is. Well,
you and I are on the like we're here.
I'm gonna say that it was the musical aspect of her. I'm gonna say that y'all ain't. Y'all going to hell.
I'm just.
I've been in hell since about 2003.
Listen, it's comfortable out here.
She played Squeak. I'm sorry. I'm like,
Squeak. Yeah. So, a quick question. Or what I thought that was kind of cool, and I may have missed it in the 85. I feel like after she said, "Till you do right by me, everything will crumble."
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And their depiction of everything literally crumbling after that and the continuous failures, like, I thought that was nice. And I don't remember having that in the 85 film.
So the third act of this movie was way better than the 85 version.
Yeah.
That was the saving grace of this movie because, again, it was much more clear. the relationship between the pastor and Suge.
Yes.
Much more clear. I've literally and again, they didn't set it up correctly in the first part because The Color Purple is really a fantasy movie. But you have to set the rules. Celie apparently has supernatural powers, but we don't know that until the third act. So her imagination stuff, you gotta establish her as the supernatural being. It's like, Celie, you don't know you have these powers until you're able to come free. That's how I would have did it. You know, you don't know that you're powerful, but you have to be. You gotta let yourself go or whatever. And then the letters are what gives her power. So in the first one, it was just kind of like, I'm going to curse you, Danny Glover, and then she leaves. And then Danny Glover's like, oh, well, my crops don't grow anymore, and but your sister's coming, and then that's the end of the movie. But the fact that she actually had powers in this new version, where Mr.'s crop dies, he's drunk. Did something else? What happened to him? He got hit by a car. What else happened to him?
Somebody fell out in the mud, drunk.
He fell out in the mud.
And that's how they brought it all together. The mailman brings, are you okay, mister? White man called him black man, mister. But nonetheless.
And that was weird, too, because... continue.
So he gets the letter, which is ultimately the catalyst for him then going to, I guess, immigration or whatever, getting the passports, paying, getting them back. But it was because don't touch that mailbox. Nell's coming. All right, back to the letter. And in order to get this curse off of me, I've got to do something right by her. And it tied it in. So I agree. Act 3, it brought it together.
It saved it.
It saved it.
And then she opens the show because it gave Celie and Nettie and all of them, it gave them a happy ending up until, because in the 1985 version, Celie sat on the porch until Nettie came back.
Yeah.
That's all she did.
Knitting, yeah.
She was just old and was just on the porch, and then Nettie came and
she did have Miss Celie's
Celie got fancy pants.
Fancy pants.
So she made them.
The name? No, literally, that was what they named her store.
Was Fancy Pants.
Fancy Pants.
Yeah, so she has a store, and they have a whole musical number, and
of course they do.
Sparkling pink.
Yes. It's full flash mob. Like it's. It was something special.
And then when Mr. does right by her eventually,
he buys the silver disco pants.
Hey, I'd like to buy some pants off you or whatever. And at this point, she has, and I know why they got Fantasia with her big old ass, because when she's an old woman, she looks like all the old women in my family. She's all just dragging that wagon, like, oh, you want some pants? You know when they get old, they hold their hands like this. They're like, "Oh, you dragging that way? Okay, let me come again." That's why they got Fantasia.
I have to circle back to it because now that I'm thinking about it, it's bothering me.
Yeah.
In that time period, what white man is going to refer to another or a black man as Mr.? And number two, in the writing, in the book and the original, Celie calls him Mr. to like disassociate. Like his name is not Mr. They're not calling him Mr. out of respect.
Yeah.
It's specifically you are disassociating. So why would the fucking mailman, the white mailman, for no reason?
Ironically, why he was face down in the mud.
What?
Yeah, I thought it was a lot. Let's go around real quick.
That just annoyed me.
So just to wrap, just to wrap the whole thing up.
We hated it.
Hated it.
Well. So to be fair, The Color Purple, the new version, was directed by a man and was written by a man. Blitz Bazawule, who's Ghanaian. Marcus Gardley, who wrote the screenplay. Maybe if they would have got another woman director, a great woman director, black woman director, maybe we would have been having a different type of conversation.
Or if they left it alone.
There's
that too.
Quincy Jones came back to do to produce. Steven Spielberg came back to produce.
What, in this?
Came back, it's a new one. Now, compared to the 1985 version, 5 white people produced the 1985 version. John Peters, Peter Guber, Kathleen Kennedy, who's now over Lucasfilm, Frank Marshall, Steven Spielberg, and Quincy Jones. I think Quincy Jones has something to do with these 5 white people producing.
He's probably married to 4 of them.
And the original was written by a Dutch writer named Menno
Jizz.
Maybe
Continue.
We'll just
Whatever. Another quick fact is that at this time, Steven Spielberg usually took $15 million as a directing fee. He cut his salary down to $40,000 to do The Color Purple. So he was an ally back in the day. He was first uncomfortable in doing the movie. He said no, but they convinced him otherwise. They had to convince Alice Walker because she didn't want a white person to direct the movie. But then after she saw E.T., I believe, she was convinced that Steven Spielberg was the perfect person to direct the movie. And for it, I do think that the 1985 version is a much better version over the musical. But
what number out of 10 do you all give it? Like a Rotten Tomatoes score. We'll start with you. What you got?
Well, I have not
Oh, you
seen
have
it.
not seen it.
So,
Well,
but
well-
I haven't seen it because I like the original so much, which I would give it 10.
We'll allow you to abstain.
Thank you.
Keenan, what you got?
I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10.
All right, my friend.
I'm Googling what number is less than 0.
Oh, well, okay. All right.
Damn, this isn't calculus.
I'll accept it as that.
It just says negative number.
Yeah, I give it a 6. 6.5, maybe. Actually, 6.5 is going to be my final.
Y'all have
number.
the same number.
For,
Y'all gave it the same number.
For the fact that if I just purely watched it for entertainment, it will be just that. Having reference points from the original film and knowledge of the book and screenplay, it was pretty lackluster. But nonetheless,
I could have done without this, and I would have liked to have heard Taraji talk about pay disparity with Hidden Figures, not this movie.
Exactly.
This movie wasn't worth all the all my life.
By the way, on the Taraji Pay thing, I would say instead of comparing her to Brad Pitt, who made $10 million on Benjamin Button, you know who I would have compared her to if we were going to do a white male actor?
Who?
Robert Downey Jr.
Why?
Because Robert Downey Jr. cannot sell a movie by himself outside the Marvel movies. When he's not Iron Man, every movie that he's in that he's a main character flops.
we'd like to take a moment just so our audience knows and gets to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
We call this segment the Hot Seat. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. You can fire them off, and then we'll close. So, with the Hot Seat, when it comes to grits, we doing sugar or salt and pepper?
Is everyone getting asked this question?
Yes.
Okay. I still feel like I should go last because I don't want things thrown at me. So my grits, I put butter, sugar, and cheddar.
Okay. The cheese threw me off, but okay. All right.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Definitely sugar.
Any butter?
Yes.
Straight, okay.
Butter and sugar.
Not mad at it. When it comes to shoes, stripes, checks,
Wait, to what?
Adidas or Nikes?
Oh, Adidas.
All day long.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Definitely a Nike person.
I feel it.
And I love Reeboks though.
Okay.
I'm so
like a classic.
Me
That's
too.
what I got on right now.
Okay.
And they got they're like
Aw.
I'm not
I love Reeboks.
Me
a
too.
Reebok. I'll add a third now. All right. Whose side are you on, Cat or the comedians?
Cat, because I believe if he was lying, they would not be so upset.
Everybody took
Yeah.
took to the mic.
The
Nobody
fact-
said he was lying. They just gave their side.
The fact that Ludacris came out, did you hear his
With a
freestyle
jingle, they said he
response?
had a jingle.
I was
Said he got a jingle.
old same face wife. But then you look at the bitches, I'm like,
They do
it's the same
look
fucking
alike. They do look alike. They do look alike. Now, the one thing that I had to, well, there's several things I could disagree with, but he called them ugly. They ain't all ugly at all.
They're not ugly
You know,
women.
they do look alike, though.
They're
But
Hollywood wives.
Yeah.
They're cookie cutters. It's like
That's the mold.
you get a light skinned wife, you get a light skinned wife. Yeah.
As a comedian, I totally felt a lot of the things he was saying. And I'm not for any kind of violence or talking shit. That's just not my style. But I'm not mad at him for speaking his truth at all. Yep. And everybody's like, well, it's true. A lot of that stuff is true. And I've been in stand-up for 14 years, and I've heard some of those stories over and over. And again, Instagram didn't exist back then. A lot, you know what I mean? Like, it was hard for niggas to get checked on shit.
Right.
Back then. Now, like, it's receipts. Yeah. And just like he said, it's always 25, 30 people around when shit is happening. Like, he's not lying about anything. So, and all those people started it first. He was just responding to allegations or things that they said. So I think I have to be on the side of Cat.
Yeah. All right, talk to me. Reparations or not?
I feel like at this point, the only acceptable and realistic reparations for black people in this country, stop making us pay taxes.
Amen on that.
Like, the concept of 40 acres and a mule is fucking stupid. I didn't like walking my dog when she was alive. Like, I don't want to deal with a mule. 40 acres for every single black person. We don't have that much United States of America.
What about like $1.2 million for every black person?
That's what I would prefer.
Give me the cash.
The cash would be great. However, because most black people were not raised learning financial literacy, they will blow through that $1.2 million.
Maybe.
I give our people a little more credit.
Me too. But so what? If they blow it, they blow it. But they had it.
I'm not saying all, but I feel like the majority. Again, I say things that aren't popular, but a lot of the shit is true.
Yeah.
If you're broke right now and you have poor spending habits and you don't know how to manage your money, if you get $1.2 million tomorrow and you still don't have financial literacy, nothing changes. It's like winning a lottery ticket. So I'm like, if realistically, if we know they're going to say, well, we can't afford to give every single black person in the United States $1.2 million, if realistically they are going to be working, think about it. Your regular job. How much better would things be for you if you didn't have to have taxes taken out every week?
Fantastic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the only realistic thing that really makes sense, don't have black people paying taxes for what?
Definitely reparations.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then favorite TV show ever?
House of Cards. Favorite TV show ever.
Good one.
Ever.
Good one.
I just love the writing. I was I was like, oh my God. I was obsessed with it. Yeah. I will pull over on the side of the road to watch House of Cards.
Better than Scandal. Better than Scandal.
It's way better than Scandal to me because they cussed, because it was just like, it wasn't like network. Yeah. So it was way better. But I like Scandal too.
That's hard for me because I'm a sitcom kid.
Okay.
Honestly, I Love Lucy.
Before we go, tell us one thing that you would want us to know about you, your brand, any projects that you're working on, and be sure to let us know where we can follow you and find you.
So I
do not in a creepy stalk.
No, definitely not.
I'm going to stalk you. Gonna be creepy.
I am Dicey. My name is Dicey. First of all, you can find me at Dicey Approved. I have a podcast with Kevin Hart and with Punky Johnson from Saturday Night Live. Kevin Hart's actually our producer, so our podcast is on Sirius XM Channel 96, or wherever you podcast. It's called Love Thing. We give very unsolicited love advice. We got another season. We just got renewed for another season, and we have some other some other very exciting news that hasn't dropped yet that'll be dropping soon. But I'm very optimistic about my future. Thank you.
I like that. One thing, I don't have a brand.
You are your brand.
Projects, I'm doing shows. I said I wasn't doing any last year, so now I'm doing them. I'm directing my first short at the end of the month, but people will see that doesn't matter. The one thing I would want them to know about me, you may not like what I say, but I'm always going to tell you the truth.
Amen.
And you can find me on Instagram at the fuck is my handle? I am. It's like my phone number. I am KRYS Harrison, Krys Harrison, on Instagram. Yeah.
I appreciate you. Thank you for being
I thought you
here.
said hot seat. I was like,
Oh,
you thought you were gonna ask me like how many bodies you got. Like,
Nah,
We're not. We're not Shannon Sharp.
We'll do the Cultured After Dark, and then we'll get to those.
On the Patreon, we'll do the Culture
There
After
you
Dark
go.
on the Patreon.
Somebody got to cut a check.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Kultur'd. If you like what you heard, if you agree, if you disagree, please leave comments wherever you are streaming this. Give it up for my co-host,
Jade Barnes.
and give it up for myself, Keaton Jerome Floyd. You
Woo!
can follow
oh,
us
the men get
at-
last
Give
names.
it up for y'all. Hey.
We ain't running from nobody.
Yeah, we don't.
Find me.
Yeah.
Send a check.
Feel
You,
attacked.
you can follow us. You can wait. Let me finish the outro. God damn it.
This is better.
You can follow us at Jade Brandon.
Yeah.
At Keaton J Floyd on Instagram, and follow the podcast at Kultur'd Pod and on YouTube,
We're gonna
Kultur'd
cut all of
Podcast,
this.
and all of this shit. Let me actually do this the right way. Make sure you follow us on at Kultur'd Pod on Instagram. Everywhere you fuck. Okay,
This
let me do
is
this
not
one more
going
time.
good. Just look at the information below. You know where to find us.
Let me do it one more time. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Kultur'd Pod, and also follow us on YouTube, Kultur'd Podcast, and everywhere else that you stream your podcast. Thank you for joining us. We're out.
See, this